The moment the world heard Kim Kardashian admit she had secretly bought back one of the most emotional items ever tied to her late father, Robert Kardashian, fans instantly felt the weight of the moment. It wasn't just another luxury purchase, not another headline about her extravagant lifestyle. This one carried soul, memory, and a deeply personal story stitched into every page of a worn, fragile Bible that once passed between some of the most controversial names in American pop culture history. And as she revealed on her family's hit reality series, The Kardashians on Hulu, this wasn't just a simple buy. This was a quiet mission, a concealed operation, a chase after something she believed carried her father's energy, something she could not allow to slip through the hands of strangers or the glare of the media. When Kim held up the Bible in front of her youngest daughter, Chicago West, her voice cracked with emotion. "This is really special to me because this used to be my daddy's," she whispered, holding the book like a relic. "When someone goes to heaven, their energy is always here with us." It was a line that instantly stirred the hearts of anyone who has ever lost someone they loved. As Chicago, just 7 years old, blinked curiously at the book, it was clear she didn't yet understand its historical weight or its emotional significance, but Kim did, and she was determined to pass its story to the next generation of their family. She confessed something the world did not expect. She had gone to extraordinary lengths to buy it back without the public ever finding out. What she wanted, she said, she would get, but not because of ego or extravagance. This time, it was because the item belonged to her father, a man whose presence shaped her entire life and whose absence still cut deep. According to the auction website, the Bible sold for $8,276, but the story behind it wasn't nearly that simple. This wasn't just any Bible, this was the Bible Robert Kardashian once gave to O.J. Simpson, his former best friend and one of the most polarizing figures in American legal history. For anyone who knows even a sliver of the infamous O.J. Simpson case, the idea of such an item resurfacing is enough to reignite decades-old emotions, memories, debates, and wounds. For it to then travel back to Kim Kardashian, well, that's the kind of twist that only Hollywood could write. But behind the scenes, things took a shady turn. Kim revealed that she contacted the attorney managing O.J. Simpson's estate, hoping to quietly buy the Bible without stepping into the circus of bidding wars. But those private emails, she says, were leaked, likely to drive up attention and spike the auction price. "I get the game," she said with a knowing sigh, "but I definitely don't want to be used in that situation." It was one more reminder of a reality she has lived in since childhood. The media will twist anything they can use. So she changed tactics. To avoid being exploited in a bidding frenzy and to keep a deeply personal mission private, she used an alias. Her team placed bids under a fake name so her identity couldn't be traced. The idea of Kim Kardashian, one of the most recognizable women on Earth, sneaking secretly into an auction using a code name feels almost cinematic. Yet it was the only way she could protect the piece of her father she desperately wanted back. As she explained this on The Kardashians, her sister listened with a mix of shock and amusement. "You guys were really close," she said softly. Kim nodded, eyes lowered. "How much do you miss your dad?" The question hung heavy in the air. "Like so much," Kim answered, her voice breaking. She explained that every milestone in her life, every major accomplishment, carried a bittersweet edge. She wished her father, her protector, her grounding presence, could see her now. And even though she's surrounded by fame, success, and her massive family, the absence of Robert Kardashian remained a wound that never fully healed. The Bible became more than an item. It became a way to feel him again, to hold something he once held, to preserve something he once valued. "So if anyone was wondering who won that O.J. Simpson auction," Kim said with a smirk that softened into emotion, "you best believe it was me." The moment she opened the Bible with Chicago, her daughter innocently asked whose handwriting was inside. Kim explained gently that it wasn't her dad's, that it must have been O.J.'s. Then came the question millions of parents dread: he went to jail? And Kim, knowing full well how heavy the truth of that history is, simply said, "It's a long story. I'll tell you when you're older." She left it at that, preserving her child's innocence a little longer. But that wasn't the only memory she shared. She suddenly drifted back to her childhood. Long before the fame, long before she was a global mogul, she remembered a moment when the paparazzi nearly turned her into a tabloid headline. She needed a school book, but the press was crowding their driveway because of a scandal involving Robert Kardashian. Her father had warned her not to go outside if the media was there. She waited. She panicked. She needed the book. Finally, she tried to leave discreetly. The next day, a tabloid headline announced, Robert Kardashian's mistress leaving his home. But the mistress was actually Kim Kardashian, a teenage girl just trying to get to school. The memory stuck with her. She and her father laughed about it later, but it revealed to her the raw, unpredictable, often ridiculous power of the media. It showed her how quickly lies could become truth when cameras and gossip collided. That experience shaped the woman she would become, the one who now navigates fame with precision, strategy, and caution. It's also why she was cautious about the auction and determined not to let her father's Bible turn into a sensationalized Kardashian purchase story. This wasn't about fame, it was about love. The more she spoke on the Kardashians, the more layers unfolded. The Bible didn't just symbolize her father, it represented a time when her family was tangled in one of the biggest legal storms in American history. Robert Kardashian stood beside O.J. Simpson during the murder trial that divided a nation, an event that changed his life and forever linked their families. Buying back the Bible meant reclaiming a piece of that story, of that era, of that bond. Even the way she shared it with Chicago felt symbolic. She gently explained that her father had given the Bible to O.J. to offer him motivation and guidance. It wasn't about the case, the media, or the scandals. It was about two friends in a complicated moment, one trying to support the other in a time of darkness. And now, decades later, that symbol of support came back home. Behind the glamour, behind the iconic fashion and billion-dollar businesses, this moment reminded the world that Kim Kardashian is still someone's daughter, someone still grieving, still missing, still holding onto fragments of the past to feel close to the man she admired more than anyone. Throughout the episode, it became clear that the Bible was more than pages and ink. It was her father's touch, his handwriting in the margins, his energy pressed between thin sheets of paper. It was a link back to a childhood filled with memories before tragedy struck. Kim has said many times that losing her father was the most painful experience of her life, and that pain never fully went away. This Bible allowed her to feel, even for a moment, that he wasn't gone entirely. And for all the drama the world associates with the Kardashian family, breakups, scandals, business launches, headline wars, this was a rare moment of raw, unfiltered humanity. It was a daughter holding on to her father's legacy. It was a mother passing down the story to her child. It was a woman quietly fighting to preserve a piece of her family's history without letting the world turn it into a circus. In the end, this heartfelt journey wasn't about the price tag or the auction drama. It was about love, legacy, and the power of a father's memory. The Bible now sits safely in Kim Kardashian's possession, not as a collector's item, but as a reminder of the man who shaped her, protected her, loved her, and continues to guide her even from beyond. And in that moment on the Kardashians, viewers saw something rare. Kim not as a global superstar, but as a daughter still chasing the warmth of her father's presence. And when she whispered that she bought it because she misses her dad like crazy, millions of people instantly understood